and the girls.
Isn't that expected though?
No, but like more different than our individuals.
More different.
That's okay. That's kind of, I would say that's not that surprising either.
No, it's fun though. I think it's fun. I also am so tired of all these people having the same freaking sponsors and then having no creativity with their names.
What was there was a comment I saw in I think it was on the post we put up today. Someone was like, that's the deal here. Everyone either has a respectable sponsor or the most ridiculous, inappropriate name ever, and there's no in between.
There's no in between. My favorite one is the Fox Ferret Manatee Men.
Yeah.
That's Daniel Koos and
Yep.
Nate Ackerman's.
And the team, yeah, like the kiddos, which is perfect. But then we also have like the strapping young lads. And I'm like, what are we doing here? What are we doing here?
I missed the Brazilian waxes down under. That's the one I missed.
So good.
Yeah, they ended up picking up a sponsor, so no fun with that one other than in our memories.
Bummer.
Yeah.
Rest in peace. In the arms of the angels.
All right.
Chad,
yeah, Chad's coming in and out. He's got Canadian service.
Yeah. So what is that up there? Is that powered by Moose or something up there?
Yeah, it's they use maple syrup to power whatever up here.
So small change of plans tonight. Patrick was able to join us, so we got the same crew as yesterday. This is going to be our team preview and predictions for the 2024 TYR Wodapalooza. If you missed it, yesterday we did the same thing with the same group for the elite individuals. First.
He was first.
He was first?
First.
Not counting us, he was first.
I'll tell you what, he was not first place when we did the Death by Burpees challenge in Indianapolis.
Ooh. Man. That's rough.
Anyway, teams is the focus today. Teams was the origins of Wodapalooza, as Patrick reminded me yesterday, specifically teams of 3. And we do have some team athletes competing who have been competing for a long time in the team divisions at Wodapalooza, past podium winners, past champions. And they reverted back to this format last year with the sanctionals era kind of being behind us, where they needed to facilitate the 2 men and 2 women 4-person teams. A ton of elite individual and team games athletes signed up last year, and the same thing is the case this year. And we are pretty excited. As you guys see, we've got a couple sponsors on the show. Strike Movement is going to be the partner with B.Friendly Fitness throughout the week for Wodapalooza. You guys probably well aware, if you follow any of the stuff that I do, that I am a huge fan of the Hayes trainer. Been wearing them since the 2022 CrossFit Games when I first was introduced to them, thanks to Tyler Watkins, actually, and the Heat 1 app, who we're actually going to talk about as well here in a minute. And pretty much use them for everything: life, training, disc golf, travel. I wear them out to as many fancy places as I can get away with as well. And super happy to have them on board with the B.Friendly Fitness team this week. HGR CBD is our sponsor for podcast going into 2024 season. Another company that I've been working with personally. I don't take their products everywhere I go, as they're not allowed in certain parts of the world, and it's not worth the risk, but it's always nice to come back to them. So if CBD is something that's interesting to you, Carl and the crew over there take a lot of care into the integrity of the ingredients in their products. Goes through lots of testing. He uses them all himself. Patrick's got one of the topical sticks there, super easy to travel with and very easy for application as well. So you be hearing about and seeing them supporting us. We're going to be happier with those 2 sponsors. Patrick, anything you want to add before we shift to the teams?
Yeah, I got a funny story about this. Obviously, it's an applicator, right? It's a roller.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, it was last year in Miami, of all places too. I woke up Monday morning or whatever, whatever you want to call that, happens Monday after Wodapalooza, and decided to go to the beach. And I wanted to put some deodorant on. So yeah.
It could be worse.
Patrick calls it waking up, but it's really just rolling out of bed after an hour after coming back from whatever party he went to.
It was an epic party, but it's not that bad. I wouldn't suggest using this as deodorant, but it does have. But it did. My pits were relieved, and they were nice. Very less score. And my favorite part about this is actually the smell. I'm not gonna lie. I just love that smell. I don't know. Maybe that's just me, but yeah, I know Brian. You're a big. I mean, I think that's one of the first things they sent you. You're like, Patrick, I love this stuff, and it really is really good. I love it. Sorry.
Yeah, it's
And
probably my favorite. They do have the like a balm one as well, and the balms are nice, and you can kind of massage them. Then you have to wash your hands. So if you're already cozy on the couch after your shower, you can just apply that pretty easily, topical, like Patrick said. Bella and I have made it to Miami, and Patrick and Chad will be making it down here over the next couple of days. I was over at Bayfront Park today, checking out all the stages. Things are, 2 days out from competition, huge competition like this, thousands of athletes. Things are coming along really nicely. Stages look good. There's a lot of similarities, a few differences that you guys are going to see. And then, it's always nice when you start walking around the venue, you just start to kind of get in the feel and get excited for the competition that's to come. Bella, who are we starting with tonight, the men or the women?
I say we start with the women because we always start with the men, but I also want people to leave comments if they think that we should do the videos and the rest of the week together, because this whole other hotel room, we're in the same city. We might as well have a show. We could sit in cool chairs. We could have cups. We could have snacks. We can make a whole thing out of it. So we need to know if people want us to do that because I think it'd be great. It'd be so good. But
Bella,
yeah, let's start with the women.
You're trying to come over to my hotel room, Bella.
Oh my God.
We did contemplate doing the show. We did contemplate doing the show together tonight, but I had some meetings right before this one. But maybe we'll do that throughout the week.
It's a good idea.
I do like the idea of starting with the women, though. We started with the men yesterday for the individuals. We once again have put the Instagram graphics up congruently with each other, but articles on B.Friendly Fitness website are independent men's and women's. So you can see the full, on the competition corner, you can see the athletes that are competing, but you have to click on 2 different buttons to get there. So we've provided team names with athletes, and we have seen all the comments today. We are aware that the rosters are changing. Sometimes the team names are changing as they acquire sponsorships or something else, or an athlete withdraws for whatever reason and they have to find a replacement. We've tried our best to keep that as up to date as possible. Those things can still change all the way up until the start of competition potentially. And so, what you'll see on the website and Instagram is reflective of the best information that we had at the time. If you are aware of some changes and you think we might not be, feel free to let us know. We'll check that and make changes accordingly. But
Brian,
yes,
before we start, kind of on topic, like on that, is there anything, since you're boots on ground there, anything that we need to know regarding? Obviously, there's been some talk. Obviously, Arturo Barbell Spin put out something about Arturo. I think Andrew Hiller put something out as well. I mean, what's going on there? I mean, obviously, it's a huge. I mean, we're talking close to thousands of athletes there, and there are some athletes that are going to get lost in the shuffle. It's no excuse for that, but I mean, can you talk on that at all, or are you willing to talk on that?
Yeah, absolutely. So earlier today, Jacob Hart was added to the men's elite roster, and it was just, like you said, he had gotten kind of skipped over in the process there. He deserved an invite, qualified 21st, so a backfill invite went his way. He was added to the field, and then this meant that we had 41 athletes when the heats were slated for 2 heats of 20, and we needed to try to find a way to accommodate that. So Dylan and the team were working on that throughout the day. We did speak with Arturo Torres tonight and just tried to clear all the air with him in that regard. My understanding is that he is coming to compete. We are going to make room for him in the elite division, and if that means that we have to have 41 athletes and 3 heats for the elite men's division, we're going to make that happen. Dylan understands that competing in the elite division at Wodapalooza is a huge opportunity for athletes, and something it might be one of those bucket list opportunities. And the fact that his team communicated to Arturo that he had a spot there is not something that he wants to rescind. So we've kind of explored every different option there, and that's where we're at right now.
Okay. And regarding, I guess, last night, if people haven't noticed, if you go to the Wodapalooza leaderboard for 2024, Ellie Turner dropped out. Have you heard any details on that? I mean, or is that just something that?
It was I haven't talked to Ellie. I haven't talked to anyone on her team. We did get a comment during the show last night that there was a potential of that. I had heard as much as well, but I never like to, speculate on those types of things until I kind of hear from the athlete, manager, coach, whoever ends up making that decision. If I see them, I'll certainly, check in with her, talk to her, see how she's doing. She is here with Justin, so they'll be around. And, if you're on site, you might get a chance to see her when you wouldn't have otherwise walking around the venue or something like that. But Ellie's not in the field. And so currently 40 women on the men's side, or the women's side, 41 on the men's side.
Cool. All right. Aaron, got you all caught up, huh?
Yeah. Thanks, Patrick.
You're welcome. That's what I'm here for. All right. So, women's teams. Let's talk about this.
Let's go.
Yeah, this will be. I think it's going to be a really fun competition. If you did watch last year, I think we may have seen possibly the two best teams we'll ever see compete in a women's teams of three. We don't have Laura Horvath and Mal O'Brien, et cetera, in the field this year, but that doesn't mean that there's any shortage of experience and competition. And Patrick, let's do the articles for the top at least, and just not get distracted by those good-looking men over there. Oh, nice picture there. Patrick took that one at the games last year, but that's not the team I have picked first. I've gone with Team Ice Barrel. This is going to be Paige Powers, Bailey Rail. You finding it there?
Right there.
And Brooke Wells. Bella, do you like this as a pick for a team to win the women's team division? Why or why not?
That is the one team that we do agree on in order for
The
our
one
podium,
team.
which I love. One team to rule them all. I think I was really excited because Paige, coming off of, she competed this past year. She won as an indie last year as well. So Wodapalooza to her definitely means something a little bit special. I think with Brooke not competing at the games this past year, she's probably itching to get back out on the competition floor. Bailey, she's just the sweetest. And I think I'm always trying to find ways to really root for her and say, this is her year, this is time. So I think it'll be really fun to see her on a team with these two very solid and very strong ladies. Knowing that they have a 5K trail bike ride, I actually think I'm most excited to see them on that one for all of the workouts. And so, yeah, that's our similarity, is that's the first place. And I told you earlier, we're good with that.
Because Brian picked those women based on how sweet they are. That was his determining factor.
Yes. Well, I think it, these girls, if you're thinking of three people that are just nice as heck and you can't say anything other than, wow, they're so nice as humans. I love that they're all coming together, but also they're three very strong, very built, aerobically skilled, gymnastics, everything. Like, I'm not worried about these ladies at all. I think workout after workout, we're going to see them in the top of the heat, winning workouts all weekend long.
Yeah, and I mean, we'll get to that in a second. But on paper, these individually, this is the best collection of women in this field. You talk about Brooke Wells, multiple top 5 finishes at the CrossFit Games, Bailey Rail, 3 consecutive qualifications there. Paige Powers coming off not just a win at Wodapalooza, but a top 10 finish at the games herself. So if you're just talking about the ability for the best individuals to come together and win, we can look back at last year when the men's side with the Canadian guys, maybe not having that pedigree of team experience compared to some of the others, but they're 3 of the top 4 athletes at the games the next year. And when you put that kind of talent on one team, it shows pretty well. Patrick, having kind of said that and talked about how good those 3 women are individually, I'm guessing that it's just the team experience that you're favoring with a different pick.
Yeah, it's not just a team. I'm also talking about their experience this off season. You can't argue that the next. I mean, who I have number one is probably no surprise for me would be the Plus Ultra team, which is it's kind of, we're talking about all these like sponsors. Plus Ultra, they're not. Unfortunately, they're not sponsored by Mick Ultra. That would have been a cool one if Mick Ultra was sponsoring their.
Yes,
that would have been. Believe me, I would have tried. But it's actually named after Tyra and Jesse are real big anime fans, and it's named after one of their favorite animes, so that they watch. But All three of them, obviously, they have the team experience. You have Devin, who's just, they fit his team. Kyra finished 7th. She was part of that Mayhem team. Her and Devin were the only 2 women in this field that actually wore a leader's jersey during the games, because Kyra was able to wear their Mayhem wore the leader's jersey after the first event. And Jessie has a wealth of experiences too on the other Invictus team. But it's just not their team experience. They've been busy this offseason. Kyra, she did Rogue, she did Dubai, Devin did Dubai, Jessie Smith she did the you saw her down in Australia, Bella. She they won kind of going away with that team they had there. The California Girls, I believe. Was that the name of their team?
Yeah.
With Danny Spiegel and Emily Reflo. But they've been active. I can't really say that about the other team, and I don't know. I'm kind of leaning, like how Brian, you lean on experience. I'm looking at the experience of the season, and when you get 3 team athletes who are used to working with teammates and making adjustments on the fly with whatever, they'll be able to do that, and their experience for the season. There's no off. There really hasn't been off season for them.
So what you're saying is what I always say is, what have you done for me lately? And it's these girls that have done something for you in the sport lately. So that's why they're on the top. I like it.
Yeah. I have to agree.
Yeah, thank you, Chad. Yeah, Chad, get them.
All the things
Canadian correspondent.
Oh wow! So we're split 2 and 2 here.
Yeah, we're split 2 and 2. I like the experience, and to keep things simple, like PC said all the things, but the Team Iceboro is just too nice, and nice guys finish last usually. So I just don't.
Okay.
Yeah.
I will say I'm excited to see Brooke out on a competition floor, though, because last time we saw her wasn't the best case, and she's made the transition from HWPO during this off season, and I like to see. It'd be really interesting to see. I think the competition's really good whenever Brooke can show up, and she enjoys. She enjoys Wodapalooza, and so I'm excited to see Brooke. Obviously, Bella, you are not wrong. Those are some of the sweetest people you will meet, especially Bailey and Paige. Every time we go to Cookville, Brian knows it's like the welcome wagon comes in, and they're just great people. But at the end of the day, it's you're trying to win titles here, win that 30K, and I don't know if niceness actually helps you win 30K.
We'll find out.
No, Brooke is actually on a little bit of a similar trajectory to Katrin David's daughter, just on a year delay. Had a year where she missed the games, whatever the circumstances are. Turned and gave a change in training, the HWPO, shows up at Wodapalooza to compete on a team. Last year, Katrin's team, it came down to like a 1 rep or 1 second at the end, but they finished second. And then she goes on to have kind of a resurgence back into the top 10 at the games this year. So definitely happy to have Brooke in the field, and hopeful that she can have a similar kind of return to that greatness that Katrin had last season. So we got, kind of a split decision there, 1 and 2. I'm going to start with Chad for this one and give each of you guys a chance. If there's one other team on this list that you think could upset those 2 teams, finish first or second besides them, who are you looking at?
First or second? I'll take.
He's looking for a Canadian team right now.
Yeah, I was going to say, I have them all flagged.
No, I was going to take Team Scandinavian. So
that's so rude.
Yeah,
that's so rude.
Okay, first of all, it's Scandinavian. What is it? Scandinavian. It's Scandinavian.
Scandinavian.
Yeah, I think I said it right. Scandinavian.
You just saw Annika Greer's name and took the easy
way. No, I did not.
It's a good call if you're going to take it. It's a good one.
You gave me the first pick, so I'll take that one. And again, like I said yesterday, I think Rebecca Biddison is going to go higher in the individual competition that you had her ranked at, and Annika, I think, is like, she's probably the most popular crosser that hasn't made the games in recent years, and I feel like she's on the trajectory to have this big bang, and I think Wodapalooza is always an event that she likes to sort of count. I expect big things.
Bella, it sounds like you were going to pick the same team. When based on last year especially, is there any concern or consideration for teams that have athletes that are also doing the individual competition the 2 days prior? Do you think that's a pro or con or irrelevant?
I think it depends on the athlete and depends on how seriously they kind of take the individual competition. You can't say that you're going to compete 2 days in a row and then you're going to go do team and say your body's not going to feel absolutely wrecked. But at the same time, it is kind of a little bit of a primer for what you're going to do. Most of these athletes are used to doing 3-day competitions. They're used to long weeks. They're ready to do it. So if their training has led them up to, hey, not necessarily I'm going to peak at Wodapalooza, but I'm going to be prepared for a lot of activity, I think they'd be fine. I will say that I did have Annika's team and Rebecca and Matilda as my second spot, of course. But that's because I am very confident in what Annika can do. I saw her at Down Under. She did great. She also, talking with her, that was not what she wanted. She wanted to be on top of the podium. So if she can't be on top as an individual, I know she's going to fight like heck to be on top as a team. And that's going to be really fun to see. I know she and Matilda have got on. They're very good friends now. Just some things going into the season. I think she'll be around more, which is awesome. I would say another team, if I'm going to say someone that would be a little bit less of an obvious choice, obviously we're going to go with the Aussies again, but it'll be Team Frog Rips with Emily, Grace, and Victoria. I saw that and I was actually shocked to see Victoria with these two girls. Emily and Gracie, phenomenal athletes. We talked about both of them yesterday for a pretty decent amount of time on how strong and how fit they are, especially what they've shown us in the off season. So I think it'll be fun to see how Victoria kind of plays in with that team as well. See if she can balance out any places where those two ladies, are not the strongest.
Yeah, I had there was a late change to that Scandinavian Indian. Man, why is that word so hard to say? Scandinavian team.
Too many vowels.
Scandinavian.
I had thought that Lena Richter was going to be on that team. They replaced with Rebecca Wittesen. And, Lena Richter is one of the more experienced team athletes, male or female, over the past 3 years, 3 straight podiums, a win at Wodapalooza in the past with Ingrid Hodnemer and Kristen Holta. And I did have them in a podium position prior to that swap. I ended up going with a very experienced team of team athletes in Kelly Baker, Emily Lundberg, and Kelsey Keel. Baker and Keel have been competing together on teams at Wodapalooza dating back to 2016. Keel and Lundberg were top 10 teammates at the CrossFit Games this year. Both Baker and Lundberg had career-defining moments at the semifinals this year. Baker finally making on the individual side, Lundberg qualifying with her team OBA to the CrossFit Games for the first time. Both ended up in tears as their teams and the individual announcements were made. And I think that this is a team that's going to have undeniably, possibly the best chemistry of anyone out there, the most team experience. We talked about it prior to FitFest with Kelsey Keel having 5 CrossFit Games appearances on her own on the team side of things. None of them are competing individually. I think they're going to come in strong, healthy, having fun. I think this is a strong consideration for a podium team that you guys are leaving out.
I don't think I'm leaving it out. I think they're very strong. I think they're going to see success in worm thruster with sandbags, but I think there's other teams. I mean, if you're going to pick 3 people and create clones for each other, it's Kelly, Emily, and Kelsey. You know what I mean? They're very similar athletes. And so where they're very similar, I also think that's where their struggles are as well. And so I think I don't disagree with you. They're solid, but at the same time, I do think I had other teams that were ahead of them.
I mean, I don't
argue with me. Let's go.
I don't necessarily think they're similar. I think Kelsey has a different. I think Kelly has a different skill set than the other 2 women. Obviously, we look at Kelsey and how strong she is, but Kelly is a very, very good runner. And obviously we have that 5K run with the Echo bike, and Kelsey and Emily aren't the best runners, but I think that's something where Kelly can help make up that margin. I mean, Kelly is strong, but she's a very good runner. I mean, she trained for a whole year for a marathon, and she runs a 6-minute mile pretty easily. So in terms of strength and everything that Brian said in terms of those 4 ladies those 3 ladies just picking up a sandbag and working and communicating, I mean, you're probably not going to get any better than those 3 ladies right there. And Oh, by the way, Bella, you and Brian win. T-Bird was the tiebreaker.
The tiebreak.
She got it for the Ice Barrel. So Ice Barrel, you guys win that one. But but yeah, I disagree. I agree with Brian wholeheartedly about number 3. But I don't know what we're going to get out of the Scandinavians, and yeah, those would be the top 4, I would say, between those 4. There are other teams, and we'll probably get to those soon. But yeah,
Yeah, I really like one of the things I really like about this women's field is just the international representation. We got Bella, of course, already mentioned the team Frog Grips with a couple athletes from Oceania. And did they make an adjustment to that lineup? Did I miss that? Because I know Campos is not competing on the individual side. I think she still might be doing that.
Mhm.
And then you have the RX Performance team coming out of Sweden, Antonia Kotolinski, multiple-time CrossFit Games athlete with a few different teams out of Sweden, winner of the RX division of Wodapalooza a couple of years ago, Maria Langfors and Camilla Solomonsson-Hellman. A lot of experience on this team. Again, it's just a team that I think has great chemistry, a lot of fun, a lot of fitness. I don't know if they can podium or not, but I definitely think they're going to be lurking in that final heat throughout the competition.
I think that Tory and Black team, I mean, the jump ahead, I think they're going to be really sneaky. Bella probably could talk more on that. But I mean, I definitely think they're one to watch. Yeah, I mean, there's some good teams. I mean, the Reebok crew, there's a lot of experience in that Reebok crew as well. I mean, yeah, but I think when it comes to the top, there's mainly 4 teams, I would say. Unlike last year, where we did have probably some of the great lineups in women history and at Wodapalooza in terms of like star power, but there were so many good teams last year. I think this year we don't have as many good teams, but we do have teams. We don't have the depth as last year, but we do have quality.
I think like it's going to be highly competitive. It's hard to say for sure where the line is drawn here. I mean, who knows? Like Elisa Fuliano, Ali Scudds, Michelle Baznet, that team could overperform. What are you just about to talk about them, Bella?
I was like actually really excited about that team because Fuliano's just she's going for it. I feel that every time Pat's seen her in competition, he only has positive things to say about her performance and how excited he is that she's just crushing it. And I haven't seen Scuds in a while, and so to see that name pop up again, that's good times. And she's been here a lot. She's one of those faces you see. I know you guys don't care as much about the sparkly personalities on the competition floor, but it makes my life more fun. But she's one of those really fun athletes that she's fun to watch. She's fun to have out there. She's a machine. She's great. And Michelle Basnet's a phenomenal, addition to that team. But out of those 3 for the Reebok team, I'm excited to see Fuliana. But I agree with you. I definitely think that's a top 10 caliber team. Tori and Black's top 10 caliber team. So I think the top 5, I think will eventually break away, and then we'll kind of see what happens there. But you never know.
I'm interested to see some of these. I mean, you brought up Gracie Walton and Emily DeRoy. They're competing as individuals. We heard it last year. We heard it from a few athletes who said that, man, switching over from indie to team, it was a grind. Now, granted, a lot of people I talked to were on the male side, and those same guys who said that was a grind and that they don't know if they'll do it again, they're doing it again. They're just doing it on a different team. They might have traded out their team to find a stronger team where they don't have to work as hard. Maybe, I don't know. I think that was Vellner and Fikowski's like philosophy last year, and have Adler do all the work. But yeah, so I don't know if that Frog Grips team on paper, which again I hate that they changed their name, but I understand for the reason of sponsorship. But I'm really interested to see how they mesh as a team.
Yeah, and then we got some of these teams have changed up a little bit from what they were in the qualifier. Krieger meets training culture originally had, I think, Ingrid and Tandel on that team, along with Verena Ramers, who both had games experience from last year. So maybe lacking a little bit of the quality that they qualified with. You got the Kaleshnikov team. They have a lot of experience competing together. They've added Kamila Takayeva, who is, I think she's one of the top 5 women in Asia currently right now. that tries to make it on the individual side of things, along with Keshnia and Ayajan, who have competed together for a couple of years. So some good experience there. And there aren't that many invited teams. I think it's 8, maybe down to where, like Paige Semenz's team there, and the rest of them, I believe, qualified through the qualifier. So there's a lot of opportunity here for some teams to make a move. Looking at the bottom half of this list, is there kind of anyone down there, Patrick, Bella, Chad, that you guys are excited to see, curious to see, either an individual or from the team side of things?
I mean, I think it's going to be no surprise who I pick, and it's not for the reasons why you think. It's that Army Warrior Fitness team. The reason why, I know, but it's not the reason you think. I think the reason why is last year, this is the same team that competed last year, finished 5th in the RX division. So it says a lot in their terms of their fitness, how far it's gone since last year to this year, where they finished 5th in RX division, and this year now they're competing on the elite stage. They qualified through the qualifier. And that's the great thing about CrossFit. If you stick with CrossFit, you're going to see the results. All 3 of these young women have gotten better, and it's shown over the past year. And that's why they're ranked where they're at. Any other sport, if you finish 5th in a lower division, like soccer, for Brian, you could probably use soccer as a perfect example. If you're in one of the lower leagues in soccer in the Euro League, you're not going to be picked to finish in the top half in your upper division the next year. But it's cool to see.
Sometimes it happens.
It does happen. And I think that's one reason. That's why, again, I'm picking them not just because of my ties to the Army or my ties to those athletes. I'm picking them because of over the past year, they're the only team I've seen that's bringing that whole team back, and they've improved. You have a semifinals individual in there in Emma Harving, and then Sydney was on a team at semifinals. And then Ava just missed out on the semifinals, and she's going to compete in teams this year on a very good underdogs team. So that's a team I'm kind of keep. I have an eye on. I wouldn't be surprised if they finish. I mean, in maybe higher than 14, but 14 would be a good spot for them, considering they finished just, I think, 19th in the qualifier. But that's who I got my eye on, and yeah, that's it.
Bella or Chad?
Yeah, no surprise there. I'm going to say Dixieland Elite because it's kind of a more rookie team for an actual true elite competition. And I know Sydney Smith very well, and I know she's jacked up to actually compete with a true elite field, because she's finally on they've created a team with Riley, Tyler Cook, and I believe it's not Mary Helen, but they have another female that's on their team. But I think it's going to be really fun because they are true rookies to this depth of field, despite it not being as exciting as years past, with the top games athletes there and the iconic females that we all love to watch. But I'm excited for them. And, you want to be excited for your friends, just like Pat with the US Warrior Fitness team. You want to be excited for them. And I get jacked up when rookies are coming in and making waves and showing people what they're doing, because that's how you make your name here. You can't always be at the top. You have to be a nobody first, and then you get there. So I'm excited for those girls.
That team actually qualified 2nd through the online qualifier. So I can drop them down a little bit here. The online qualifier for the team competition didn't really require much team work. So the best individual competitors were likely going to excel in that format. You could actually even do it in remote locations for, I believe. And so I'm pretty excited to see if they can parlay some of that fitness that they clearly have. We have, the worm's going to come out multiple times this weekend. There's going to be some synchro, barbell stuff for a lot of reps, and some athletes blend right into that environment really well. And for others, even if they're really talented, if they don't have experience with it, sometimes it's not as easy. But I would say that if those athletes well, and you're aware of how well they qualified, and you think that ranking is a little low based on that, that is a team that certainly could surprise and do quite well this weekend relative to where I have them ranked. But I'm kind of with Bella. I'm excited to see what they can do, and I'm curious where it'll place them when things kind of do settle out.
I love how Bella
What?
I love how you use the term jack, because I mean that's the perfect word for Sydney. Sydney. It's so, because as long as I've known her, you could tell she's an athlete. because she works for Airwave, and to finally see her on a competition floor, I'm excited to see her live and something like that. And using the word jacked around Sydney is the right word for her. That girl is jacked, and I'm happy for her.
She's jacked. She's a great kid. She's got a fire that you love to see. And I'm thinking if they do really well, Chad, here's the graphic, surprise, and Dixieland delight. So letting you know now, have it prepped. When we get there, I'm the new person for marketing for B.Friendly.
I like it. I like it.
Chad, anyone down there that's got your attention?
No, to be honest with you, Sydney is actually the only athlete I know in that bottom half of the list.
So he's from Dixieland. And he likes country music, so it's perfect.
I like the name. I mean,
Emma
the sweet,
Gardner will
sticky,
be fun.
thick, and pretty name catches my eye. Really interested. I feel like they win name. I mean,
Chad's that guy that when March Madness comes around, you're like, hey, we're going to do a bracket for March Madness. You give Chad a bracket, he's going to pick it based on the mascots. And he wins.
He's going to win the most money out of all of us.
I can do that for you. I can do that for you. Yeah.
Brian, how about you, man?
Yeah, we do. I mean, we do have some Latin American representation here. The Lycan gang, Team Treta, a couple of athletes with some semifinal experience. Tata Rivan, I believe, even has some games experience. So, and that's, a staple of Wodapalooza, all the time. Trailer Park Girls is the best name. And like we said, we have the LATAM Cup this year. We have a bunch of Latin American athletes in the individual side of things, and we do have some teams out of Latin America as well. We got teams from Europe, we got teams from Oceania, we got teams from South America, and all across North America. The international, and Russia there with the Kalashnikov team. So the international fields have showed up. We got a couple athletes from the UK as well. Maddie Harris there, Janie Garrett on the team that I have ranked 10th. And then as we were scrolling down there, Nicole Crouch and that team NGH put up a pretty cool post. Actually, they're pumped up to compete this weekend as well. I think there's a lot of parity actually in this field. This was pretty tough to rank, once I got out of the teams that have game athletes that are on them and a few of the qualifying teams that I know well. So if you're offended by the rankings there, it was kind of tough to pick. This is some of these athletes compete individually more often than not. Some of the teams have been kind of thrown together last minute. Like I said, the qualifier to me was only a little bit of a clue because there was a lot of individual demand, whereas this programming requires a lot of teamwork. So I think that it's going to be a good opportunity for Chad and many other people to maybe learn about some of these athletes. Some of them are pretty young, and we'll have a chance to make some moves eventually on the individual side as well. Competing team in the elite division of Wodapalooza is no small feat or accomplishment. The experience is valuable. The stage is big. And, you do get to go against some games athletes and kind of stack yourself up and see, even if it's just from like a confidence or an execution standpoint, some of the things that they might do well and that you can learn from them. So great opportunity for a lot of these athletes and a lot of unknowns, to be sure, on the women's side.
Brian, who do you have at 26?
What do you mean? Jenny, Julia, and Kelsey?
Sweet, sticky, thick, and pretty is what he wants you to say.
Bella, you know me too well. You know me too well. Damn it,
I knew what you were getting after, and I was hoping that Chad would bail me out, but it was Bella.
Best name.
I love it. That's a great name.
That is. It's almost a tongue twister.
Any final thoughts on the women's side before we flip over to the men?
I have one final thought here. Brian, did you see this? Kind of a shameless plug.
Oh, yeah.
Love it.
Devin Kim throwing in the essentials, homegrown relief, some podium, hydro salt. I think that's a black raspberry, my favorite as well. Yeah, if you guys missed it at the top of the show, Strike Movement partnered with us throughout the week for Wodapalooza coverage. Homegrown Relief is our podcast partner heading into 2024. And I do just also want to mention, because I mentioned at the open of the show, the Heat One app is in full steam, full effect this weekend. The lineups should be set and ready to go based on the latest information about the rosters. They're partnered up with Pliability and TYR Wodapalooza for throughout the weekend. So go in there, make your picks. It's super easy to play. Costs you nothing. There's prizes for the top 10. It's a set your lineup and let your money ride type of thing in that top 10 game. You can also pick winners of every individual event if you're more interested in that with a shot caller. I put my individual picks in earlier today. I'll be putting in my team picks as well. And encourage you to try it out. It's a little extra rooting interest. It's a fun way to get involved.
Speaking of pliability, look
at
this old school. Speaking of pliability.
I think I know what year that's from.
Yeah, you probably know exactly where I got it too. Your first year, was that your first year at Wodapalooza as well? 2019.
I've been coming here since 2017, but maybe that might have been the first year that I worked here. Maybe 2018 was. But, yeah.
But no. Yeah.
All right. Well, we're going to flip over to the men's side. And actually, a few of the men in the team division have offered up some opinions based on my rankings, and they don't agree with them. And I will say this off the bat. This at the top was really hard. It was like almost harder than the men's individual. Let's just pause on this here for a second so people can see some of these teams. Hombres was a late add to the roster, but we kind of knew they were always going to be competing. Noah Olson and Chandler Smith's pedigree at Wodapalooza is insanely impressive. Tola Morakino has been training with these guys throughout the offseason. He has a wealth of team experiences on his own. And I'm just going to kind of set the stage here and then turn it over to you guys. That's a formidable team. That team could win this competition. Patrick Vellner's coming back as a returning champion. He has stolen the team captain from Noah Olson and Chandler Smith from years past and Travis Mayer. And then they've recruited BKG to replace Will Morad, which is about as good as a replacement as you're going to find anywhere. Their cumulative age is about 100. But they are also contenders to potentially win this.
Don't be mean. Travis is my favorite dad. Travis is my favorite CrossFit dad.
I actually think their cumulative age is 97 or 98. So it was a true statement.
Don't say that. I hate that. Oh.
On the flip side of things, you have Ricky Garrard, Dallin Pepper, and Jason Hopper, a younger team. These are the guys that are saying that I've done them a disservice based on where I've ranked them, which we'll see in a minute. And every team in these top 5 can absolutely podium. I think that 4 of them actually have a chance to win. So to pick one is pretty tough, and it should be a fun conversation. Willie George and Jay Crouch were with Roman Krenikoff last year. They took second place at Wodapalooza with that team behind the Canadian men. This year they've added Justin Medeiros. I said BKG is about as good as a replacement as you could find. Well, Medeiros has 2 CrossFit Games championships. He hasn't done very much team competition, so I'll be excited to see how he works in this format. We haven't seen him at all in the off season, so this is the first chance we get to see him. I'm assuming that he's healthy and he's probably got a little bit of a competitive edge that he's just looking to get out. So certainly a threat there. And then we can scroll down to Roman's team, who's again partnered up with some pretty formidable guys in Saxon Panchik and Jorge Fernandez, who's coming off a team championship at the CrossFit Games with Evan Kim and the Invictus crew. So I basically I saw these 5 teams and I was like, there are plenty of other good teams in this field, but I think the winners coming out of this 5. I'm assuming you guys agree, but I have no idea who you're going to pick. Chad, let's start with you. Who do you pick here and why?
If you steal my pick again, I'm coming for you. I'm coming to Canada, and I'm going to get you.
He's coming to you. You don't need to go to Canada. He's coming.
Yeah, I'll be there tomorrow.
Okay, I'll see him later. Okay, I'll be waiting at the airport.
Brian just set me up here. I mean, he could give it to you. I would agree with Brian. You could throw all these names against the wall, and the order would be different every time. I have a different order than yours. I will give you my top 3. I have Team Tier number 1, Tres Leche number 2, and I have Hombres number 3. So Pepper, Hopper, Garrard first. I think they're the strongest team. I think Dallin Pepper is gonna win the CrossFit Games one soon. And Jason Hopper and Dallin Pepper both, I believe, they're not doing individuals, so they're fresh. Ricky Garrard, sure, he's in the individual competition, but I think he's one of the strongest individuals here. So I think they win, and just edging out Vellner and Mayer and PKG. And then I think you can't sleep on Olsen and Smith in Miami. I feel like I think
So you think that Willie George, Jay Crouch has taken this next step this year,
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Adding Justin Medeiros regress from second off the podium.
That's correct. I think that the distance between those three in the world is not going to help. I think, they're just individuals. I don't see them coming together as a team.
Did you see the graphic that Patrick picked to represent them?
It's hilarious.
Yes.
I think their chemistry is undeniable.
I can't take credit for that.
I mean, they did that I don't know. That's just hey, like that's my fix.
Good.
I'll put Team Go on number 4.
Oh wow, you're sliding the big Russian. He's coming for you too. Him and Bella are going to be waiting at the airport, Chad. You're not even going to make it to Vegas.
Dude, you think I'm scary? Roman's scarier.
Oh yeah, that's a different level of scary.
I mean, but let's.
I have Roman at number 5, just like you.
I know, and how crazy is that?
Yes, Cave, he has.
I mean, and that's pretty crazy. Like this does that in and of itself speaks to the caliber of the field that both Chad and I have picked Roman Krenikov's team to finish 5th. I think someone else will maybe give him a little bit more love than us. Bella, what's your top 3? Or you know what? What's your top 5?
Okay. Top 5. Okay. I have Jason, Ricky, and Dallin on top of the podium. I do agree with you on that one. I was actually very surprised seeing Ricky competing at Down Under. He's a phenomenal team athlete. He actually does really well with team chemistry. And so that was fun to watch him. And that's really where I was leaning on this. Jason, Dallin, buddies.
He competed with 2 young guys out there as well, right?
19-year-olds, yeah. Very young kids. And both of them had nothing but phenomenal things to say about his leadership. And Ricky was very humble. And he's like, oh, no. It was the kids. It was them. And so I would say I'm very pumped up to see them compete. Also, Fit Fest, these guys, they know how to compete on a team with Jason and Dallin. So team tier, number 1. I also think if you're thinking of conspiracy theories, I'm not really a conspiracy theorist, but if you're going to think about what Wodapalooza would want, they want the title sponsor on top of the podium because that looks good. They want the title sponsor up there and then the gender reveal confetti to explode as they're standing on top of the podium.
And CrossFit needs more controversy.
So they're on top.
Gender reveal.
I have. Do you remember last year? No, do you remember last year they had the blue and pink confetti at the podium and it looked like it was a gender reveal and they accidentally got the wrong color. They're like, which one is it supposed to be? I thought it was so funny. So I can't wait for that to come back. Maybe the fire dancer as well. Second, I have Travis, Pat, BKG. So we do agree on those 2. Okay. Where we're starting to differ, I have Jorge, Roman, and Saxon in 4 because I'm very scared of Roman and I can't put him lower than that.
You have him in 3 or 4?
3. I have him in 3.
3. Oh,
okay. Excuse me. I had done some math earlier. Don't worry. And I'm not very good with numbers. They're in 3. And then I have Justin, Willie, Jay in 4. And then the hombres in 5. And if anything changes there, I'm totally cool with it. Cave, I did find the script. I'll get you a copy. But that's where we were starting to differ. When we talked earlier on kind of what we think was going to happen differently, that's where it was going to happen.
So Noah Olsen has competed 3 times on the team. He's been 1st, 2nd, and 3rd in those 3 years. You don't think he's going to finish inside the podium? You think he's going to be 5th with his team this year?
Yeah.
I mean, you don't think so either.
Yeah, and it has nothing to do. Here's the thing. It has nothing to do with Noah. It has nothing to do with Chandler. It has nothing to do with Tola. It's a phenomenal team. And we're going to see him a lot this year. But I think there's other teams that are better. And I want you to disagree with me. That's the thing. I love it. Let's go. I want us to all have completely different picks. Chad, we'll figure out who gets to say what later,
I'm surprised, Bella, that you agree with the top 2. So I'm happy with that.
Yeah, we're cool with that.
There's some synergy here. I like it.
All right, Patrick,
well,
put them in their place.
Pat winning it all, so
I will have to agree the number one pick will be Team Tier. I agree with because
Team Tier.
For different reasons. Because I saw Jason's comment and I got scared. So
yeah,
about scary guys.
I'm not scared of Jason Hopper. I'll tell him
just
what
said
hotel I'm
fake
in.
news.
I'll tell him where my hotel room is. Bring it on, Jason.
But no, I think Team Tier. I think based on the programming, I think it lines up perfectly for them. You know,
and bring your Monopoly deal deck, by the way. I'll teach you how to play that game too.
Number 2, I got hombres. The reason why is because of those 3 athletes. That Bella said it's not because of those 3 athletes. I'm saying the reason why they finished is because of those 3 athletes. You talk about Noah podium, Chandler's podium. I think 5 years in a row. Every year that he's competed at, that I believe he's podium. I think he put up a post earlier, so he's got to keep it going. You know, this will be the third podium.
Third in 2019. Yeah. I don't think he was on a team during the 2020 season of 4. Okay. But he was with Misfit in 2019. Okay. He was on the winning team with Travis and Noah in 2022, and he was on the 3rd place team with them last year.
Yeah, so we're going
beating out Jason Hopper and Dallin Pepper.
Exactly. So we're going 4 for 4.
Ricky.
I'm gonna have that GoWad team in 3rd. Just because I just want to see Justin get a win over Roman. Just to build up that friendly competition. No. But I have Pixel in 4th, and in 5th, I have Mayhem the Empire in 5th.
Wait, which Pixel? Okay, you have the Roman Pixel, not the Spanish Pixel.
Wait, you have Mayhem Empire in 5th?
Yes, I do.
So who did you bump out of the top 5?
With Royce Salmons.
Trey Leche?
Do you try? You don't have Trace Leches.
Wait, you didn't put Pat in the top?
Nope. The reason, you want to know why?
Yes.
So
absolutely.
Patrick and Travis, the reason why they picked up BKG is they're like, hey, dad strain. And then they're gonna realize when they get there that, oh shoot, BKG isn't a dad. He's just old. And they're just gonna spiral downhill from that. He doesn't fit in with that group.
What is with this ageist comment? What are we doing here?
Do you have the ability to mute Patrick? No, but this is great, actually. So, I mean, you guys can see there's a ton of parity in the men's division. I saw Ricky Garrard on the street today. I saw Jay Crouch on the street today, and I texted Down Pepper, and all these guys they're excited for the competition. They know it's going to be a battle. They know it's going to be fun. They know that there's no guarantees to win or to podium, and that it's going to have to be earned. And like you've heard, all of us are kind of, making some jokes and whatever, but we understand very clearly how talented those 15 guys are. And quite frankly, it doesn't stop there. I mean, we can just look at the next 5 or 6 teams that are on the screen right here and see a host of games athletes. Patrick's already identified one in 8th place there, Sam Demeester and Angelo DeChico being the male teammates from Mayhem Independence that finished 7th this past year at the games. Royce Dunn has experience at the games on a team and as an individual. And Patrick, I think you're serious. You think this team can mix it up and potentially finish inside the top 5?
Oh, definitely. I mean, you said it yourself. I mean, the unknown in that is kind of Samuel Demeester, but we've seen Samuel. The guy is strong. He's fit. That guy he's probably the most unassuming guy in that Mayhem camp, which is a lot to say because there's a lot of unassuming people. And we all know what Angelo is probably the next. I mean, he's who Rich has basically handed off the Mayhem team Empire to. And then, of course, we all know what Royce is capable of doing. I just think you add Royce to that equation. They're already a strong teammate, those two guys. And you add Royce to that mix, I think, yeah. I mean, we know this race in the top 10 is going to be close. All these guys, it's going to be close, top to bottom. I wouldn't be surprised if all 10 spots are probably separated by less than 80 points. So, yeah.
Cave, you out in Miami this weekend? You're going to be creeping on me without identifying yourself again? Chad, we got a couple of Canadian guys on the Mayhem Outlaws, as long as we're talking about the Mayhem athletes here. Alexander Caron, who we spoke about yesterday, Stefan Cassette, partnered up with Jack Rosema, who we also spoke about and will be in the individual field. And Any comments about these guys and their potential to be within the top 10 here in an incredible field?
Yeah, I honestly I didn't peg them to be top 10. I wasn't looking at them as the Canadians to make the top 10. I know you have Jack Farlow. Yeah, I know you have Farlow pretty high. And I kind of think the teams below, like 11, 12, so Krypton and Gorilla 90, 911, Alex Vigneault and his brother, I think have a good chance of kind of creeping up to the top 10.
Yeah, Gorilla 911, I believe, qualified second, and the team that qualified third was Pixel Train Cult. Some friends of Bella's there, Aniola Kai, Fabio Benito, Guillaume Briant. They sent me a hilarious video earlier today. I think they're going to the Miami Heat game tonight or tomorrow night. But Bella, you think this is a top 10 team? And if so, how high up do you think they could potentially push?
I have them in 6th. So I absolutely think between the 3 of them, it's possible. I think Aniola has had an incredible year. Seeing him in Dubai, he's honestly one of those athletes that if Europe wasn't as strong, I think he would have gone to the games already. Fabi as well, phenomenal athlete. To say that Guillaume is like the weak link on that team feels kind of crazy, but they have great team chemistry. We saw them in Madrid together, so I'm very excited to see them. They were in my 6th place spot, so I'm fully confident in their team being a top 10 team. I think where we're kind of differing, let's see, I had the Caron Rosama team. I had them in 10th, so we're the same there. Mayhem was similar. I had Alec, Christoph, and Austin's team actually a little bit higher. They were in 8th. So I think there's a lot of kind of funky teams that are out there on the floor. I did not have James Sprague, Jack Farlow, and Benoit as high as you did. And I don't know why. You know when you don't feel confident in something and you're not really sure why, and so you kind of just keep pushing it down until you feel that this is where they're going to be. I'm fully confident in them as individual athletes. What'd you say?
That's my credo. I live my life that way.
I feel that when you go.
I didn't know. It just felt wrong to keep them up so high. So, to go back to your question, yeah, I think that training cult team will be top 10. I think they'll be higher than 9th by a little bit of a decent margin.
You can't deny Aniol's hair too. I mean, that hair is just amazing. He probably has the best hair in the men's field right now.
I think every athlete wants to find a brand that they can really like stamp and hold on to, and I think he's going the hair route. So good for him.
Definitely. And it's going to be cool. It'll be cool to see Briant, like how I talked about yesterday, watching who was it I was saying that I can't wait to see him swim or them swim. But Briant's another person. I can't wait to watch them in the water. I mean, that's again, we're kind of taken away from that in the pool at the games 2 years ago. So to see him open water swimming, he's known for his swimming prowess. And I think it's one of those things where in that particular event, the swim event, if those guys are, he could pass some teams. That guy himself could pass some teams and make up some distance just in that event alone.
Did you see Mike Halpin's comment about when I reeled off those swimming events? He's like, I'm always impressed with Brian's ability to reel off events, but let me correct him. I just forgot. I totally skipped over 2021.
2020,
the swim kayak one, and I was like, thanks, Mike. Chad, did you have a comment about that Farlow Boulanger Sprague team?
Not necessarily. I think that they are. I like them at number 6. My only thought was, I think the CrossFit Mayhem team probably sitting up at number 6, and bumps down Sprague and Farlow. I was gonna say I had the same feeling what Bella was thinking with the Nick Matthews, Spencer Panchik, Luke Parker team. I just don't know if they're gonna be in the top 10. They're all competing this week. Ooh. They seem a little bit put together. I know individually they're great, but I think the CrossFit Mayhem team for sure edges them out, and the Pixel team edges them out. I don't know if they are in the top 10 at the end of the week.
Yeah, Chad, I like that.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that analysis of Matthew Spencer and Parker is absolutely a good one. I actually think Spencer Panchik can be a huge asset to this team, and
Yeah.
even Saxon for the team that he's on. You know, they like I said, they've competed to get. Well, I don't know if I've actually said it yet. They've competed together here in the past. The first year that I did come to Wodapalooza was 2017. They were on a team with their brother Scott. They were only 21 years old then, and they've got this wealth of experience over the last 7 years. Great question. Ironically fit. Yeah, Bella made a comment about this earlier. What kind of impact does competing in Indy first play on your rankings? So we talked about it from the athlete perspective. I do think that for some athletes, the mindset is one thing. What are the expectations on the individual versus the team? Are you coming here with the expectation of winning versus getting a training experience versus having fun with some friends? And also, if you do have expectations on the individual side and things go well, that can be a huge catalyst. But if they go poorly and you're coming into the Saturday morning, I mean, look, the individual competition ends on Friday night and they got to go run in the morning. So if you had a bad finish, a disappointing result, something didn't go your way, you barely miss a podium, whatever, on Friday night, and then you got to be able to put that aside and come and compete for your teammates the next day. Not every athlete's going to be able to do that. So for me, especially when I think about those teams at the top, and I see guys like like I view Ricky Garrard as an incredibly resilient athlete. I think regardless what happens on the individual, he's going to show up for his boys on the weekend. Dallin and Jason are going to come in healthy. So like I was definitely thinking about that to some extent. I think back to last year, it's like I'm not worried about Vellner. Like I feel like he can compete through all 4 days just fine. Some of these guys, I'm not entirely sure. And sometimes you get these little thoughts in your mind, man, some of these guys just competed in Dubai. It's only a month later if they're doing both also here. So you do ask some questions like that, definitely. I did wish on the men. Go ahead.
Oh, go ahead. You can finish. Oh, I was going to say something I do think about ironically fit is last year we saw a lot of athletes that were competing individual withdraw. It wasn't a lot. It was just a few. I say a lot kind of facetiously, but it was a few athletes wasn't going the way that they thought it was going to. And then they withdrew so they could be successful for their team. So there's also that goes into it. And that's not that, you can't really prepare for that. You can't predict people withdrawing because it's not going their way. But it is something that you think about, you think about the athletes, their mentality, what they've been through physically, if they've done something similar before when it comes to picking who you actually think will do well in your predictions. But you never know what's going to happen out there. So,
yeah. I mean, they're not also taking account the Friday night, the first after party, for individuals Friday night.
Oh, actually, the rad party on Saturday is what
that too.
Yeah.
There's some more activations going on. Yeah, there's a bunch. Yeah. Hey, I do have. I mean, one thing I do want to take notice at. I thought Chad was going to bring up about the James Sprague, Jack Farlow, what was that? The strapping young lads. Is that
strapping young lads?
Jack Farlow. Is a strike movement athlete. So, shameless plug there. Was that forced? Was that too forced? Damn it. My bad.
I mean, look,
and he'll be wearing them all weekend long.
Yes, there we go.
Sprague and Farlow have definitely gotten on the radar this year with the success that they've had making it to the games. Benoit Boulanger is the other athlete that Carolyn Lambre coaches besides Jeff Adler, and he is pretty selective with when and where he chooses to compete. He did compete here as an individual last year. I saw some good things from him. I thought he improved going into the semifinals last season. I actually just spoke with him last week to just make sure that he wasn't doing individual again here this year, because I know he loves competing here. I think he was a little banged up after the Rogue qualifier, and so he didn't do the Wodapalooza qualifier, but he did do for the teams, and he'll be out there. This guy is a tactician of movement. He's a big dude, but he moves super well. If you get a chance to see him a little bit on the broadcast or in person, if you're down here in Miami, I think that he's a good athlete to keep an eye on. He's still relatively young and has some potential for sure. Speaking of young athletes, Patrick, what do we got there in 14?
Yeah, kind of just like you picked 14th was where you selected that Army Warrior Fitness team, which is a young team. I think the average age of that team is probably about 24. And then you have this team with Nate Ackerman, Daniel Coos, and Joey Dennison. I'm not too very familiar with Joey Dennison, but I know Daniel Coos just turned 20, and Nate, I think, just turned 19. So, yeah, we're talking the average age of this team might be probably 18 and a half. I don't know. Does anyone know who Joey is?
I haven't actually done much research on him yet, but we do have. We are pulling all the information, all the athletes. Let me see if Barkley's done his job.
Yeah, while you're doing that, while you're sourcing B.Friendly stats, another unnecessary plug. I also like the name. I also love the name of that team. I know Bella likes that name too. What's their name, Bella?
I think it's so the Fox Ferret Manatee Men. I think that's so funny, and it's gonna be such a pain to say out loud multiple times. Y'all are gonna have to figure that out. But actually, we could call the FFMM, F squared M squared, F2 M2. I don't know.
Or instead of calling them men, calling them Manatee Boys.
Yes, because they are boys. I actually love them. I've seen them competing since they were teens, and so I've actually known them for a little while. Daniel and I, we go back, and I actually think I commented on one of his final competitions as a teen, and I was his judge. I judged him, and then it was the next one. So I've known him for a long time, and I ran into him at the games, and he's so funny. He was asking about what I'm doing, and I was asking what he was doing. He's like, "What have you done lately, bro? What are you doing?" And he was just kind of joking with me, and he's like, "It's tough breaking in as an individual adult, okay? It's tough. Once you turn 18, it's not easy." And so I'm excited to see what these guys do, knowing, just having a couple more years under their belt as open athletes, not teens anymore. So, and I love the next gen of CrossFit, and I'm all for newcomers coming on in. So I totally am excited for the Fox Ferret Manatee Men as well.
Yeah. What do you think the chances are that at one point their team wears the thick fillet shirts?
Oh, I think they'll wear them all weekend. Yeah. To be honest, I think it'll be thick fillet shirts and Born Primitive jorts. I think in my mind, that's what I think. The uniform.
PC Joey Dennison, 29 years old, and he's actually very much in the same caliber of athlete of Daniel and Nate. 69th in the quarterfinals for North American men last year. 2 times experience on teams at semifinals, finishing 7th and 8th at the Mac and Syndicate Crown with 3 Bridges CrossFit. I don't know for sure if he was on that team or as an alternate, but it was one or the other in 2021 and 22. So he's just about 200th in the Open last year. Top 70, just a few spots outside of potentially being a backfill to a semifinal. So which is similar to those guys. Yeah.
So he's the guy that's running the car for the weekend. Got it. But I'm trying to figure out who the fox, the ferret, and manatee. I know who the man is now. So
Joey's the man. I'm gonna go with Nate as the fox because he's very smart and methodical, and Daniel's gonna be the ferret because,
or maybe it's a combined. Maybe he's the ferret manatee. He's combined because he is kind of like a ferrety type of guy, but he eats like a manatee.
But there's definitely some interesting teams here in this middle 10. Nick Hecht and Brandon Luckett, Joe Manu, they all have team experience. We've already mentioned Spencer, the winner of Charlotte Classic, Christoph Horvath, and Alex Smith.
I like
that team. I'm the most curious about. I'm curious to see how they compete.
Conquer? Krypton. Yeah, they did pretty well on the qualifier. Alex Smith obviously has some tremendous team experience in his back pocket. Horvath and Spencer very fit in their own regard.
So true.
Being overrated. True. Another team with some Spanish influence there, the training culture of elites, Pablo Cazales, who's been at the games, Callum Clements, up-and-coming athlete in Europe, and Yuri Marchenko, one of the better Italian guys. Ficini, Cook, and Carter, Conquer athlete. A lot of team experience on that side. Will Carter competing alongside Christian Harris the past 2 years. I mean, it's a pretty deep men's team. The team in 19th there, True Coach Train Cult, was actually the top qualifying team. Mikko Lilliorg, I saw him compete live in Finland in August. Kevin Jurs, who will be in the individual men's field, and Bartek Lipka, one of the more veteran and seasoned Polish athletes over the last 8 years or so. So good European team that's made the trip over. And I would think just overall, there's probably a little bit more depth in terms of top end experience than on the women's side of things. Even as we get down here into the 20s, there's some athletes that have had some experience, been in this field before. Nate Scola, for example, Tyler Lloyd's been around, Riley Smith, Riley Martin, some of these guys from Canada, Dumont, Lacroix, Tristan Leclerc, these guys, Johnny Charles, Alexander. I know. I think Johnny Charles actually might be competing next weekend in South Carolina at Fittest of the Coast as well. I just saw his name on their roster. Bella, anyone on here from the travels that you've been on individually that?
Yes, I would say Chevy Sarah with your team in 28th place. I've seen him, I want to say twice in live competition. Phenomenal athlete. But I think when it comes to the men's teams as opposed to the women's teams, once you get kind of below the top 19, where it'll switch around a ton, but they're not as sparkly and as, I don't know, big hitters as the top 20, which is totally fine. You've got to get your start somewhere. I would say if you're going to watch someone, I would watch Riley Martin from Max Lift Australia. It's Bailey Martin's younger brother. And he has gotten fit. Let me tell you that. He has gotten really fit, and he's his younger brother. So that's really fun because I think, when you have a sibling, I think Brooke and Sydney probably are a great example of this. When you have one sibling that's really taking off and seeing success, they have an option and an opportunity to bring the other sibling with them. And I think that's really what's happening with the Martins. And we're actually not related, despite our names. But
is Riley?
If you're gonna look out,
I thought Riley and Bailey are they Australians or from New Zealand?
New Zealand.
Kiwis. They're Kiwis.
Yeah. Okay, that's what I thought. I wasn't. No, I mean, I'm not checking. Yeah. I was just trying to remember because I saw Max Lift Australia and I just wasn't sure.
Yes.
But interesting. But that's another question I have for you, Bella. Maybe you can answer this. Wodapalooza seems like every year they get, obviously Brian brought this up earlier in terms of international star power. You have a lot of international athletes that come in all over the world. I mean, there's nothing more iconic than Miami, even more iconic than Madison. But but Australia probably has to be one of the more expensive places to fly from. It's probably the furthest distance, and it's not cheap. Especially for these Aussies to do it. Why are these guys doing it? Especially a team like this that's kind of relatively unproven. Why spend all this money, come to Wodapalooza to finish in the bottom half of a competition as opposed to stay at home and do a local competition and try to win there? Why are they doing this?
There's a couple different things. I think there's one, it's the opportunity for sponsorships and visibility that Wodapalooza brings to athletes, which is, I would say that's likely where they're going. I see two, a lot of Australian athletes are in US-based camps. And so they're coming early to underdogs. They're coming early to Proven. They're coming early to Mayhem to train with the teams, to get a little bit more coaching in person. So they're doing that as well. And then also, I think CrossFit in Oceania is just taking off. And there's not enough of these elite level competitions out there yet in the right time of the season for them to get this experience and to know where they're really going to stack up. And so I think that's why we're seeing a lot of them starting to come over this way, especially to come to Miami. And I think it's only going to get more and more. If a Mayhem camp was out in Australia, maybe we wouldn't see them as often, and maybe we wouldn't see them as full depth as we are now. But, CrossFit is still very much heavily based in the US. And so they've got to do what they've got to do.
Yeah.
I think it's especially if they're speaking with coaches in those camps from, that are maybe encouraging to say, come over here and cut your teeth against these athletes. This is a great opportunity to do that. And like we mentioned earlier, you can learn some things by competing against them, even if you're not beating them. And then you also get it's a live broadcast. It's an opportunity to watch it back, see what some of the best are doing, kind of compare it to what you did, and go back to the drawing board with some real data to say, okay, this is where I'm at right now. This is where I want to be. I just did it on the floor against them. And now I have a focus over my next 4 months, 5 months as I'm, getting ready to go to the semifinals in my part of the world and compete for a spot at the CrossFit Games.
Exactly.
Bella, you brought up a good point too, especially when it comes to sponsorships. You're seeing a lot of these brands like Frog Grips, Max Lift, which is also a brand itself, and LSKD. You're seeing a lot of these Australian brands they're jumping across here to hit the US market, and they're taking it by storm. I mean, Frog Grips I've known about Frog Grips for a while. And same with LSKD, but now it's part of vernacular.
It's part of our culture now.
Yeah. Do you see any other brands from Australia that could make that jump over, and maybe something like, I know back in the day, the Wildlife was pretty big, or is there any unknown brands there that some of these athletes, is there a shoe company in Australia?
Not as much. I would say Cara Saunders brand, Active. They do sunglasses, apparel. They kind of come and go in terms of popularity in the States. And I think their team is so small. And so now that she just had another baby, Cara's like, okay, what am I going to do now? And so that, that brand comes and goes. TWL is a huge staple in Australia. But I think a lot of these brands that are making the jump over to US markets realize that US consumers will spend so much money. And I say that as someone who, as I left for the airport this morning, I got a notification that my frog rips were being delivered to my house and I was going to miss them.
Wait,
so
this keeps happening to everybody.
I know.
I got to the airport. Granted, I left my house 3 weeks ago. I got to the airport and I got a notification that I had a shipment arrived. I just talked to Tyler Watkins today. He gets to the airport, gets through security, gets a notification that he got a shipment arrived, and add Bella to the list. That's crazy.
I'm so sad. I'm so sad because I wanted to try them out.
I got to the airport today and I got a notification and just go back home.
You're canceled. You're done.
Yeah, I got canceled. The military canceled me today. So
I did see Patrick.
Gosh.
I did see in the comments over there that someone was asking about the events. So if you haven't seen, there will be 6 events for the teams, 3 on Saturday, 3 on Sunday. They've all been announced, with the final one being announced earlier today. Wodapalooza put it up. Barbell Spin was, of course, all right on top of it as it was coming out. And I think he was asking for maybe a team and or an athlete to watch on some of these events that are a little bit more individually based. They're going to start with a run. It'll be off-site. Patrick, Bella, any team in particular that you think of when you think running for cumulative time? Can be male or female.
Pat. I think they'll do very well.
What? Pat Vellner's team?
For team? Yeah. Are we talking team? Team?
Yes.
I think Pat will do very well. I think on the women's side, unfortunately, I don't think the Scandi girls, I don't think they're going to do as well on the run. So there's a team I think is going to do well, and a team I do not have as much confidence on the run. It's those two. But if we're thinking of, if you're going deeper than just obvious physical capabilities with the run, Brooke, Paige, and Bailey, I believe all work with different wearables that are very popular with runners. And I often see Bailey posting that she does a lot of running training. So if we're looking for a team that might be doing well, it could possibly be those girls. The very nice girls with the nice wearables. They'll smile the whole way.
The fact that they all work with different wearable companies is not something that I would have identified. Well done.
Yeah, I would have. I disagree on the men's side. I mean, I don't know how you not give that running event to Team TYR. I mean, you got Hopper, Dallin, and Ricky Gerard, who are all known as really good runners to begin with. I mean, the weakest runner of those 3 is Dallin, and Dallin has put in so much work in the run. I believe he finished top 10 in the 5K at the games, Brian. I don't know, but I know he was in a bottom half finish, and then we all know how good a runner Ricky is. And Jason's, the guy, he won that GoRuck event, famously won that GoRuck event last year at Rogue. And I mean, I think that if they don't win that event, then I don't know. That's a big upset,
Yeah, I'm gonna have to agree with Patrick for that one on the men's side.
Sure.
Yeah.
Chad.
For the women, I think you're spot on with the women. I think Brooke is a very good runner. Bailey is too. I think the weakest runner is Paige, and you cannot be a good runner and be at the Mayhem camp. And she's developing to be a better runner, and she proved it this year with the top 10 finish at the games. And she's not finishing in the bottom half.
Yeah.
We got too many tabs open on this computer. It's so much more difficult when you don't have multiple monitors.
B.Friendly stats at work.
It wouldn't happen if we were in the same room. We could do computers and we could have tabs and tabs and tabs. We'd have a whole thing, Brian.
What I'm eventually going to do, I want to find Brian like a portable monitor sponsor. So that way when he travels, but he probably won't like it because that means more luggage. He'd have to check a bag with a monitor, like 2 portable monitors in it.
Or you ship the monitor everywhere it needs to go.
Yeah. Or we make that part of the requirement. To get Brian at your broadcast, you have to have a minimum of 2 monitors set up for him.
But can we have one of those ones that's like a scoop screen that it like seamlessly goes together? I'm just dreaming here.
Yeah.
They'll come back from the running event, and then they're going to head to the water, I believe. This workout's called Worms Can't Swim. They have 30, then 20, then 10, then 5 worm clean and jerks. That's 65 worm clean and jerks. So a lot of synchronization required there. In between those things, so at 3 different intervals, one athlete will have to go and swim while the other 2 do synchro burpees. The swim distances are not announced, and I think that's appropriate because honestly, it depends a little bit on the water that day and where the buoys kind of settle out. But it generally takes a short swim 3 minutes, a long swim 5 minutes. It feels to me like this event, from a time perspective, is going to come down to the swim. Obviously, if you struggle with the worm, you struggle with the worm, but I think that most of the time will be made up or lost in the water. If that is the case, are there teams that you particularly think about as being strong swimmers across the board, or have a swimmer that's so good that they can make up some time for someone who might not be?
I've already named my men's pick with Guillaume. For the women, it'd be Ice Barrel, and I know I picked Ice Barrel to finish 2nd overall, and now I'm picking them to win another event. But
there's not enough
actually, Patrick, I want to mention this real quick because I had something similar happen today when I was going into the Heat 1 app to put in my picks for shot caller. On the women's side, I had to reevaluate things because Danielle Brandon's now been added to the mix. Ellie Turner's been taken out.
Yeah.
And as I was looking through some of the workouts, I was like, man, like these really are strong events for Danielle Brandon. And when everything was said and done, I actually went back to my top 10 and bumped her up to the top spot and picked her to win it outright. So sometimes when you go and actually break these things down individually, you start to see some patterns that you may not have been accounting for when you think about just an athlete or a team in general.
Yeah.
Brian, were you not going to tell us that you changed your overall podium pick to Danielle Brandon? That's not fair. We already talked about this.
Chad actually moved her down a spot from 4th to 5th, didn't you, Chad?
I think
you'll see in Heat 1. You'll see in Heat 1 in the week.
No, she's stoked to compete. So she's on podium for me. That's not fair that you changed it, Brian, but it's fine. I agree. She's going to do very well.
But for this one, like I said, like Brian was alluding, now that I'm thinking about, man, I'm like, how did I pick against this team? But that swimmer is Paige Powers. She's probably the best swimmer amongst the team athletes here. She's probably, when it comes to swimming, she's up there with Lucy Campbell. She's up there with some of the best swimmers in the women's field, the Tias as well. So, and Brooke is a really good swimmer herself. A lot of people don't know that, but she's a very good swimmer, as is Bailey. So, for them, that it comes down to the worm. So, it shouldn't be a problem. Bailey has team experience. Her and Paige have actually been on a team at a couple off-season events. It comes down to see how Brooke can integrate with those 2 athletes. But go ahead, Bella. I'm sorry, I stole your thunder on that one.
No, that's okay. That's okay.
Well, I was just gonna give you historically in CrossFit, it's well known that the athletes coming out of Oceania have had some good performances in the water. We haven't seen swimming at Rogue. We haven't seen it in Madrid. We didn't see it in Dubai. We didn't see it at the CrossFit Games this year. You've seen some of those athletes swim. Are there any athletes from Australia, New Zealand that you've seen in the water that you think will impress here?
Yeah, I think the Torian girls, Amy, Briani, and Christy, I think they're going to do very well. They had a swim at, I'm trying to think of the most recent time that I've seen them swim, but they're very talented in the water. And I have full faith that those ladies will shock and surprise everybody that doesn't know who they are already. I think when you think of Australian athletes, it's really tough, especially on the women's side. It's tough to get out of the mindset of Tia, Ellie, Jamie, and those 3 girls, because they've had, and Cara, they've had the they've just been on top for so long, but there are so many very talented athletes out there. So I think those 3 girls are going to do very well, especially in this swim. And they're strong too. And they're actually something I think about very often when it comes to team workouts as a woman, being similar heights. And that matters, especially on a worm. And these 3 girls, they've competed together before, and they're very similar statured. And I think that's going to play to their strength.
Yeah, and I think just in light of what we talked about yesterday, you got to also keep in mind James Sprague, phenomenal in the longer events in general, good in the water. Benoit Boulanger is not a bad swimmer himself. And I know Jack Farrell is constantly working on his aerobic stuff, so be curious to watch that team as well once they get to that one.
Yeah.
The third event that day is an interesting one. It's called the Uno Dos Tres. They'll go from wall walk, strict handstand push-up, and handstand push-up part of the workout. It's like 3 distinct parts of this workout into some synchro double under work with 2 athletes, and then into 120 consecutive synchro barbell reps with all 3 athletes, 60 deadlifts, 40 hang cleans, and 20 front squats with 3 different weight barbells. And even though there's a big buy-in to get to those barbells, I feel like that is the workout, because you have to have chemistry for 120 plus reps. You're not going to have one athlete sit on that heavy bar the whole time. You're going to have some switching in and out, communication, teamwork, not getting frustrated with each other at the end of the first day of competition. I think we're really, really going to get a chance to see which teams are in sync with each other here at the end of Saturday night, and which teams this might be the point where some teams fall apart.
I like Ultra Plus for this one, especially for the handstand push-ups. There's no one probably else. I mean, Kyra is probably the best handstand pusher, especially strict in this field. And then when it comes to double unders, I mean, all 3 of those women are very good at double unders, and that's where that team experience comes with the synchro double unders. And when you get to the actual barbell, Devin and Kyra they're masterful in those barbells, especially cycling. And I know both those girls and Jessie are going to be really excited to actually kind of throw some weight around with each other, and especially old synchro. So I'm looking at Ultra Plus to take this one. On the men's side, my heart wants to say Vellner's team on this one, but then I also think about Noah's team in terms of the handstand push-ups, because those guys might come out to a huge lead between Chandler, Noah, and Tola, who Tola's really good on his hands to begin with. And they might have a huge lead going into the double unders. And when you get to the barbell, those 3 guys might be the best in the barbell.
I'm going to throw a team out there for this one. I'm really looking forward to Team Go Wad with Justin, Willie, and Jay. Willie George is not that great at handstand push-ups, but guess what? Doesn't have to do any, really.
Exactly. Yep.
They can bail him out on the strict handstand push-ups here, and when those 2 guys get to the barbell, I think that they have the chance to make some serious moves past some athletes. I remember watching them on some of the synchro barbell work last year, Willie and Jay, and being really impressed. I know that some of you guys don't think that they can make the podium, but I'm telling you, this team is better than you think, and I think that this workout in particular is where you guys are going to get to see that.
Well, that deadlift weight for Justin is going to be so easy, considering he's just lifting like 700 pounds.
Can he conventional deadlift, or can he sumo deadlift? Did they say that? That'd be so funny. I agree with both of you. Team Go Wad for the guys is who I was excited about, and for the girls, it was the Plus Ultra, aka Michelob Ultra Girlies. So I agree with that.
There we go. I think this is the event. Of the weekend for sure to watch. I think this is going to be like the ending is going to be the best. I think the ending is going to be super tight, and I think you're going to have like a 3-team race. So I could see Vellner and Mayer handling the barbell pretty well, and I agree with Hombres. I think they'll be there too. And what Brian's saying, you can't disagree with that too. So I think there's going to be a few teams that'll be going like back and forth that whole workout.
One thing for sure is that at the end of this day, after that run in the morning, after those clean and jerks, after getting in the water, those last 20 front squats are probably not going to feel good. But once you finish them, it's going to be a relief.
Yeah.
That's like that's one of those things, like, you're going to want to drop the bar. but you're not going to want to let your teammates down. And the end of the day is so close that you just have to go deep there and be willing to find a way. If one guy breaks, then there's, like Chad says, I think there's a chance for several teams to pass them by.
I'm getting goosebumps thinking about this workout under the lights and Flagler. I'm no shit. I am getting goosebumps because you look at the level of the men's teams on this. I mean, this could go crazy. Like you said, if someone makes an error, another team's going to be right there. And Noah's team has the capability of jumping out to a huge lead, but they also could mess up. But those other teams are so good. So this is going to be fun to watch to the end, and everyone's just going to go nuts.
The pressure will be on the floor announcers and MCs that keep the fans with the 240 Dubliners. How will we know who's going up front? Like, that'll be a difficult part of the workout, but outside of that, I'm excited.
Yeah, I heard there's going to be 20 people, 20 lanes going that night. So
amazing.
Good.
I'm just kidding.
We'll come back in the morning. We're going to head over to Tina Hills. It's the smallest of the 3 competition stages. They got the sandbag send. It's a sandbag carry relay, 120 foot each. Then they have sandbag cleans and sandbag squats in like a 3-round relay, 9-9 for each of them, 7-7 for each of them, 5-5 for each of them, and then a relay buyout with the sandbag. This is grunt work at its finest, but there's some teamwork woven in with several transitions, 2 in the beginning, 2 in the end, and then 6, I believe, in the middle part of the workout. So 10 total transitions there, 1 athlete working, 2 athletes resting throughout. And I feel like you got to favor guys who can squat fast, because that's what we saw at the CrossFit Games with the ski bag, that the guys who could get that load into a comfortable position and make up the reps on the squats. And if you have one guy that's slow at the bag, especially on the squatting portion of it, 150 bag, even for these guys, that's no joke. Then I think that you're just going to watch other teams pull away.
On this one, I'm going to go Team TYR on this one. After seeing Ricky maneuver the sandbag, or the way that guy, when you saw him at Dubai, everyone else was walking down with their sandbags, or what do you want to call them? The rogue
jerry cans,
and setting them down, turning around. He was walking. He didn't put them down. And I think that's the mentality that Ricky has. And that's how Jason is too. And Dallin. I think this is a workout that those 3 guys, being the bigger athletes, being strong and just being type of grunt workers, that they'll do really well in. And they're all decent squatters too. You figure with taller guys, it might not be the best squatters. I think they're going to be fine.
This is where we differ. I actually think the Pixel team with Anil, Guillaume, and Fabi will do very well here.
We do disagree.
I think they'll do very well here. Yeah, and then I think that's good. And then I think we'll probably agree on the women's side, though. Emily, Kelly, and Kelsey. I think this is the workout that we're going to see them take off, and it's going to be very fun.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Great call for the girls. Yeah,
very good. Yeah.
And the one thing that, like I mentioned at the start, that I'm unsure of, it feels like they might also be in the head of this, would be RX Smart Gear with Nick Matthews, Spencer Pinchuk, and Luke Parker. I think the 2 of them are super fast squatters and good squatters. Luke Parker, I'm not really sure if that'll hold him back or not, but he's a super strong, big dude, so the sandbag shouldn't be too much of a problem. Even though I'm very curious with this team, because I'm just not sure what to expect.
Yeah,
and this might be one of those ones. It surprised me.
I actually, for a little bit of a dark horse, I like Alexander Caron's team here with Rosema and Cassette, some strong guys. Jack Rosema with very strong legs, short range of motion. I think they could be a sneaky pick. And on the women's side, I don't know. I think you guys have pretty much nailed it. It feels like that 90s trend team is going to be tough to beat on this one.
Yeah.
Della, if you're on that, Nikki, if you're at that Nikki Hill stage, you better be hitting out some like 90s references.
Nikki Hill.
What is it?
Tina Hill.
Tina Hill.
Our girl, Nikki.
Thinking about ex-girlfriend. My bad.
No, that'll be the thing. I think that the goal with them, and it'll be how many 90s references can you throw? I was born in 96, so I got some of them. We'll be fine. As long as the DJ on that floor is ready to go and ready for it, we'll be fine.
Stay by the bell references.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good stuff. Yeah.
We'll move on from there. This the last workout which was announced today, waterfall on the bay over at Bayside. It's got the Echo Bike, some kettlebell box step overs, and the kettlebell hang snatches. This is a 3-round workout for each athlete individually, and only 2 athletes working at a time at most. So 1 athlete bikes, they move forward to the kettlebell, step over, and hang snatch, while the athlete 2 comes to the bike. And basically, you have to clear the way for people to advance once everyone's gone through 3 times. The workout's over. So this is the second workout of this day with a high dose of intensity in the individual domain. And I kind of feel like it favors many of the similar teams.
Yes. It's also a very iconic workout to have on Bayside, I think. Boxes, kettlebell step overs. I think that's very Wodapalooza Bayside. I think that's very fun. I also think the athletes, I don't know. I think if you're thinking of athletes that can sit on an Echo Bike and really crank it, you're going to think of the athletes that have the heavier legs that are going to be stronger like they would for the sandbags. But also at the same time, step overs are easier for taller athletes. Everybody knows that. So it really depends because they're kind of 2 different things. Perhaps team tier, perhaps Trace Leches could do fairly well. Perhaps. I have to check the script later. I'll check it and see what they said. I'll let you know.
I think this is a chance for Roman, Jorge, and Saxon to make a little bit of a move. Obviously, Roman is the best in the world on the Echo Bike and the kettlebell combination. I feel like he on his own is going to be able to make up some ground wherever he goes in the relay. It feels like the type of workout that Jorge will dig deep for. He's decent on the bike, and he's not afraid to hurt in those small intervals of time domains. And Saxon Panchik just everywhere. Get it out the left corner of the mouth, and then Saxon Panchik,
Bailey.
And the Saxon Panchik, just a fairly well-rounded guy, and he's the type of athlete that I feel will level up to the competition. I mean, he won't be able to hold the same pace on the bike as Roman, but I think that he'll hold his own against the third athlete, so to speak, on any other team. I think they could have one of their better finishes there.
I like that one. We haven't really said that they're going to win anything yet, so.
Well, I think what Brian did mention is I think a lot of these teams are there's teams that are favored to win maybe, but the other teams aren't going to be that far behind. And and there's so many good teams. It's it's going to be fun to watch. I can't wait, especially under the Flagler lights.
Yeah, and Patrick, you're talking about getting goosebumps, and I think that again, we got a nice finisher here for the teams on Sunday night. It's called Worm Fran 21-15-9-6 of worm thrusters, and then this pull-up chest to bar, pull-up bar muscle-up combo that we've seen all the way back at the 2013 CrossFit Games. Rich Froning and Camila Blanc-Bazinet putting on the star performances for that one all the way back then. Everyone's going to have to do it here. It's 876, 654, 432, and 321 of those things by round, and your teammates have to hold the worm. And I've never really done a workout quite like this in a team setting, but from the athletes I've spoken to, holding that worm is one of the critical components of this workout and should not be underestimated.
No way. Also depends on how they're going to be allowed to hold it. I haven't read the rules and the standards for how they're going to have to hold it, but there's a lot of different ways that you can hold a worm, especially when it gets heavy, kind of in that round of 6 where everyone's really tired. It'll be interesting to see what they allow. And then, do you know if there's a penalty if they drop it?
I just don't think that anyone's allowed to do any work while it's on the ground.
Yeah.
Okay, so there's no penalty if they drop the worm. They just have to stop working and then go back.
Yep.
Okay.
I think
I like it when they have to do something.
I think a workout like this again, if it favors Team Mick Ultra, and they all 3 of those
cold
ladies.
Ones.
Yeah, it's like holding a cold one. Don't drop it. It's like Edward 40 hands. On a Saturday.
The mountains are blue.
Exactly. But anyways, Brian's gonna be on the broadcast. He's gonna call him Team Mick Ultra by mistake.
I hope so.
I'm gonna be there for it. I'm gonna love it. But I think those 3 ladies they know what they're doing with the sandbag and the transitions, and they're used to this type of volume, so I don't think it'll be any problem. All of them have worked with worm thrusters, and I think Kelsey Keel's team with Kelly, the '90s team, they'll be good at this one as well. And on the men's side, I actually think Roman's team will do really well in this because you have someone like Jorge who has some of that experience as well with that Team Pixel team.
Man, I don't know. I see this one and I just think hombres for me.
Yeah, that was my second pick.
And I don't know if it'll be enough to get them on the podium, but I think that this could be, regardless, an event that they might be able to win to close things out on Sunday night.
Which if they don't finish on the podium, but if Noah can finish with a win on the last event, on the last day, he'd be happy with that.
Yeah, I mean, these guys have great chemistry. I think that they both have they all have the toughness. Their cycle rate on gymnastics is pretty fast. I don't think that many of the men are going to be taking too many breaks on the gymnastics, but this seems like the type of workout that Noah and Chandler would regularly win, and I think Tola will hold his own just fine here.
Yeah, I definitely agree.
I agree with you.
So that was a nice little segment there, ironically fit. Thank you for asking us to do that. And thank you guys for sticking with us throughout the team preview here. If you missed the individual preview yesterday, we did the same thing with the same crew. All the coverage this week's brought to you guys by Strike Movement on the B.Friendly fitness channels and podcast heading into 2024 by Homegrown Relief. Encourage you guys to check them out. If you're into the CBD, they got a plethora of good products. We'll be featuring some different ones throughout the next several weeks and months, but Patrick's got the relief there.
The deodorant.
Do they have gummies? That's my vibe.
Yes,
what are we
they
talking
absolutely do.
Yes, they're so good. The gummies are so good.
Yes.
Oh, Bella, how old's your dog, Bella?
7.
Okay. They do have a lot of dog stuff, CBDs for dogs as well. That's what I've been making.
Gunnar would love that.
Yeah, they would love. Yeah. So, yeah, it's really good stuff. We'll talk more about HDR. The older stuff's
we'll chat.
It's FDA. They've it's some of the best product. I wouldn't put anything in my dog's bodies unless it was like checked by them. So,
yeah.
Brian, those who follow Brian, you might have noticed this.
You got a haircut. Oh, the hats.
What are
I responded immediately, Brian. Immediately.
I mean, you weren't the only one. We got a lot. I just teased the shirts that Ken and Chad designed, and then Sherpa Works put out these hats earlier today too, with the rope across and the patch there. So we'll have limited supply only on site here in Miami. Potentially we can do something about online orders in the future. But if you're going to be in Miami, head to the Sherpa Works tent. They got a bunch of OG stuff and a limited supply of B.Friendly as well.
Yeah, Jamie Jamie messaged me immediately, Brian. I'm pretty sure she messaged you. She's like, I need one. So, yeah, you and everybody else. But it looks like Bella might have.
I'm trying to go shopping for her.
I know.
I'm trying to go shopping for her this week. I'm like, okay, send me what you need, and I'll try my best to go find things. But I think the hat's definitely for the girls. I think
it was always funny when people reach out. So a buddy of mine reached out. He's like, "Hey, can you give me a ruck in Miami?" I'm like, "What?"
A ruck?
Of all things?
Yeah, I'm like, just order that.
I'll just wear that on the way home.
Can you bring me back one of the ice barrels? Do you mind?
My favorite, like when people, how sometimes they sell the equipment afterwards.
Yes.
Like, yeah, hey, can you bring me back like an air runner? Yeah, I'm right on that.
Yeah.
Like, no.
Dude, I actually tried.
How do they do that?
Most of them are just local, some shipping, sometimes people with trucks. But at Atlas Games in 2020, that never happened.
Oh yeah.
I wasn't sure if I was going to make my flight. They had all this equipment that was like literally unused that they were trying to sell, and I contemplated renting a car and driving it back to Chicago.
Yeah.
I feel like that's what people do. Like, I think a gym owner or someone looking for a garage that is like, I'm going to go to the games next year. I'm going to drive, and I'm just going to buy a whole bunch of stuff.
Oh, my old gym. That's we're 6 hours away from Madison. My old gym. Every year, they always had a big group of people that always went, and they always said, "Bring your truck." So Mike would always load up
the convoy.
Yeah, just a convoy. And I know other people, they just load up all games plates. There's a gym I believe in Springfield, Illinois, and all they have are games plates. from like every year from Madison.
So
They don't have regular like road plays. They just have road game
love
plays.
that.
Yeah, which is awesome. They have all
so
these
fun.
cool plays. But man, that was a great show.
Fun times.
Dang,
Yeah,
now I
yeah,
wanna
like
go
we-
shopping.
like-
Y'all are dangerous.
Like we said, Wodapalooza brings out the big names. It brings out the bright lights, and we've got, deep fields in all 4 elite divisions. We'll have broadcasts throughout the weekend for all of those, and for the LATAM Cup. So opportunity to learn about some of the best athletes who've won competitions to earn a right into this in Miami this year, coming out of South America and Latin America. Thank you guys for making time. Chad, Bella, Patrick, all of us will be in Miami in different capacities. So follow along throughout the week to get the different highlights that are going on. Some codes from Strike Movement coming out for the first time. Check out Homegrown Relief if you haven't. Patrick, I'll let you close us out.
Bella, you have something tomorrow? Noka activation, anything like that?
Yeah.
up?
Come hang out. We're doing a 2:30 workout at Peak 360. It's 30 minutes. It's super chill, just cardio. So you can just come shake out if you just got off a plane. And then we've got ice baths.
Whoa.
So come do that.
Ice baths with Bella. I like that. Is that what
Yeah.
your marketing is? Ice bath with Bella. Yeah.
No, that would have been great though. That
Yeah.
probably would have been better, but that's okay. Next time.
What else you got going on? Any other activations? LSKD? Any podium? Anything like that?
Yeah, we've got a lot of run clubs this week. So I'll start to put those out on my stories. So if people are, they're runners and they're here in Miami, that's something that LSKD is really leaning into right now is run club, which is awesome. And you get to meet all the Aussies and go running with them. I actually got a message as we've been on this chat, 6 a.m. workout call time tomorrow with LSKD. So if you want to come, Brian.
Was that from Jameson?
Yeah, 6 a.m. No, it's from Ellie. So it's the same thing, same family.
Yeah.
6 a.m. And I'm thinking, guys, we're on Pacific Coast time. It's going to be coming very early. But it'll be fun. It'll be really fun. And everything that we're doing, we'll be putting out there. Just come meet the team. They're great people. Yeah,
Strike Movement actually has if you notice that if you go by the LSKD tent, you will notice that the shoes that they will be wearing will be Strike Movement. So, I love it when you have those type of brands that work together like that, especially when there's some of my favorite brands like Strike Movement, LSKD. Chad, you fly in tomorrow, and then you're going to be everywhere. I guess most of the time you'll kind of be facilitating some stuff at the Sherper Works tent, and then kind of managing our content creation.
Yeah, for sure. I'll be taking pics, taking video, enjoying the event, be at the Sherpa booth. Hopefully we might have a few chances for Brian to stop by, so just make sure everyone's following our stories. A little meet and greet maybe with the man, the legend.
Yeah. And if you ever see Brian or Bella walking around or while they're working, please stop them and request them. Be like, hey, Bella, I know you're calling this third heat of men's individual right now, but I need a selfie right now, dog. Hashtag, I'll tag you, but make sure you
Hashtag
do that.
Friends.
Exactly. But Thursday night will be our first daily recap with Bella and Brian. So we're looking forward to that. Shot by Chad. So look for those daily recaps every night, and then the corresponding morning, look out for our highlight videos. So we'll be putting out highlight videos brought to you by Strike Movement, by the very talented Truth Films. I think we've all Bella, you've met Maurice, haven't you?
Oh, he's so good. He's so talented.
Yeah. So
Bella, I just came back from visiting my father, and he got me a Christmas present. If there's anyone who asks you for a selfie and you're not in the mood, you can tell him to go away.
If this isn't the cover of the episode, I need one of those for flying. I need one of those for when I'm on a plane. Leave snacks. That's all I need.
That's the one.
Sleep the whole time. Just leave snacks.
It's actually super comfortable, but we were playing some Settlers of Catan, and when my brother proposed me a trade, I pulled it out of my pocket.
That's awesome. That's so good.
Great show, always awesome. This has been cool. Some great analysis by everyone, including myself. I have to pat myself on the back there. But anyways, yeah, so good, so good. But I appreciate you guys taking time tonight. I appreciate the Army for allowing me to do this tonight. Um,
Shut up.
but yeah, so we'll all be there. I should be getting in hopefully Friday. We'll see what's up. And then if you see me around, please, if I see you with a B.Friendly shirt on or any type of B.Friendly merchandise, don't be surprised if I stop and ask you if I can get a picture of you wearing that and tag you on that. So as always, we always appreciate the support. Not just obviously our sponsors are a huge reason why we can do this, but the reason why we do this are because of the people who tune in every day and they support us in every form. And so with that being said, thank you and see you in Miami, and be friendly, our friend.